Hi, this is Cheryl. I'm so happy that you're joining me today. Trust that this safe and loving space is exactly where you're supposed to be to ignite your higher self and empower you at this very moment in time. There are no coincidences. Trust the nudges that speak to you. Hello, and welcome to my Psychic Abilities 5-part series. And this is part 4, and we're going to talk about a specific psychic ability called claircognizance. And in this ability, and as you know, if you've followed my other parts, I really just stay on one specific psychic ability at a time. So you can really kind of see how you lean into and how it makes sense in your life, and how if you feel a strong sense, psychic sense, and it's a beautiful way to speak with spirit or interpret messages that are sent that way. So I'm going to just describe as I have for the pot fours, just some background, clear cognizance, and in that aspect, I'm going to talk about my mediumship, talk about invalidation, and I have an interesting share today. And we have spirit guides. We have many different spirit guides. And so I have a spirit guide, and it is a veterinarian spirit guide. I have a beautiful dog named Lucy who is just love. And when I need some guidance, I call in my veterinarian spirit guide and ask questions. So I'm just going to give you a quick share on that because you as well have all these at your lighted fingertips as well. So I shared to allow you to say, "Hi, that is interesting. I'm going to search on that." And I say, "Please do. Please open to that. Please reach out to that." The universe is constantly saying, "Please ask me. Please ask me. Please see these signs I'm sending you." So when our intent is out there, generally we are more open to receive. So mm, please ask always. So again, part four, psychic ability, is claircognizance. That's a tough word to say. So I describe what the word psychic means first. So that means that you use senses that are not explained by our human or our physical world, seeing, feeling, hearing, touching, tasting, and smelling. But I need to also remind you, because your heart has all these answers, we have all the same collective knowledge, that we have matching psychic senses to those human senses. And we call those clairs, Clairs. And that Latin prefix clair actually means the word clear, Clear. And generally, they match our physical senses. But I will say this is the one psychic ability that does not match equally. It doesn't match with our human senses because, and if you look at the word cognizance and you see the development of that word and how it would mean cognition or have that root in it, and cognition is acquiring knowledge, and knowledge is thinking, and thinking is not part of the human senses, but it is all part of our psychic ability, because clear cognizance is clear knowing. Okay, it's knowing, acquiring that knowledge. And it's knowledge of people or events that we would not normally know about on our physical plane, on our physical knowledge, on a natural source I use a lot, quite a bit. And what does that feel like if you're leaning in as a psychic into your psychic senses or your psychic ability? And I want to say too that this knowledge just arrives. It just pops in and it has nothing to support it. It has no explainable rationale. It just comes. It's just unknowing. And that is why it doesn't match up as cleanly with our human senses, but my goodness, it is a very powerful, powerful psychic ability, and one that many people have, and they don't give themselves the acknowledgement of that. So please keep your heart open for you, and see what speaks to you. So what does this ability look like in our physical everyday life? It's really just kind of having that knowledge and awareness of people or events. Maybe you feel or you know that you're highly intuitive. You just know things. Maybe this is how premonitions arrive, that you know a certain event, and they don't have to be huge events. They could just be, I know that tomorrow I am going to see this person, or I'm going to see somebody. I don't know who it's going to be, but it's someone that I haven't seen in a while. I just know that. I don't have any rationale on that. I just really feel that strongly. And so what does that look like in career and choices of employment and that sort of thing is generally clear cognizance, clear knowing are again knowledgeable people, philosophers, professors, doctors, scientists, religious and spiritual leaders, powerful sales and business leaders. Having that intuition, having that knowing, having that psychic ability. It's a very strong psychic ability, and it's such an interesting piece because it doesn't match a human sense, but it is in my spiritual understanding. And again, I say this quite often, and I will keep reiterating every time I have an episode. Um, it is all this Light is Right podcast is all about my spiritual perspective and my knowledge. We do all have the same collective knowledge. So I always say, open your heart and take what feels right for you and leave the rest. This is how I have known, and I have when I have questions, I just go right to the light and ask the questions. I ask my knowledge, and my knowledge comes to me in different shapes and forms, and always validating, as I always mentioned. But this is the most popular of the clairs. It's the most popular, and I'm using a human word. It is the most psychic sense that a lot of us carry to differing degrees. And it is also the most difficult of all of the abilities because there's no physical world understanding or proof. Um, and when we don't have that, ego will incessantly try and step in and talk us out of it. They will, they will, they will say, "Well, this didn't really happen. How would you ever know this? The way those thoughts come in but when you feel very solid on your psychic ability and you can always validate. You can always validate. So if you feel very strongly in your light and you feel like that feels right, I don't know why, validate. Ask through another psychic ability. See what comes your way. And just keep walking towards that light is right. It really is a beautiful and simple mantra that just keeps you on your lighted path. And no one can teach that to you because everyone is so uniquely different. So you have to tap into what feels light and right for you when you can clear all that earth chatter. And that is the utmost important. Making sure that ego is all the way to the earth's plane and can't reach you as you're using your psychic abilities. Knowing that someone's coming over today. How ego will talk you out of that. It must be a coincidence. How could I have known that? Lucky guess. It's not unusual that that would happen, so it makes sense why I would think that. That's ego talking. And that's where you have to, if you really strong in your light, in your psychic ability, and you just felt it coming in and it felt right and light to you, and I keep reiterating those words because it really is the only way that you can know that I'm on the right track. I might not have what I call the strike. I might have a popcorn trail, but there's something here. There's something here. And so when I use claircognizance in my mediumship, and I do use it all the time. I will say it's tied for my third dominant, and I've rated mine. So my first dominant is a tie for clear seeing and clear hearing because those are concrete for me. And then clear cognizance today's and clear sentience is the clear feeling. Those to me go together because they are can be so subtle. And sometimes I need to validate using different psychic abilities, but I would tie them for the I would tie them together as my third. And so how I generally use this ability in my mediumship is it arrives at the readings how it arrives, but very often it's mixed with other psychic abilities. So let me just give you a synopsis of how they kind of worked when I talked about it in other of my parts. As you know, in one of my prior parts on psychic abilities, my seeing, my clairvoyance, I talked about seeing a nose. And so when I saw the nose, I just knew, I used my claircognizance, and I just knew because the way it was being shown to me, there's something particular about it. There's something I need to go deeper. And again, how that clear knowing kind of meshes in or dances with that clear seeing. Another example I gave in another part where I was clear audience and my clear hearing was knowing that a spirit's guide name was Curtis. I heard it and I just knew it to be right. I didn't have to validate it more, although I always could. But I just knew that when I heard it, I just knew that was my truth. I knew that that was true. Or in the prior one I did just last week on clairsentience in the clear feeling, when someone is nervous in a reading, something might come through in my understanding and acquiring that knowledge that they're nervous because they had a bad experience. I know they had a bad experience. I feel it. I feel that they had a bad experience, and I just know that to be my truth. So again, this ability is a really hard one to tease out all by itself. Although you could, it really does blend, especially when I talk about my mediumship, it just blends every with different types of abilities. But you also it also is that it is a beautiful ability that when you know, you know. I know. This is the only ability that I speak of in, again, my perspective, my spiritual perspective, that doesn't need validation. It's solid psychic knowledge. I just know. I can't explain why. I just know it to be true. And it's that grounding, it's that intense feeling light and right. You always can validate that. You always have that ability to validate, but you don't sometimes have to when you're feeling so, I know it. I just know it. So if you're feeling a sense of, that could be a little bit of ego, and that's okay. Sometimes it kind of infiltrates because this is this is the ability that is the talk you out of ability because it is so light and subtle. So validate in another way. Generally, when I if I feel a little hum or a little, I'm gonna go to my top two, seeing or hearing, and validate. Am I hearing or seeing? Yes or no, and I'll work from that way. So an example in my professional mediumship might be I see a grandfather that's is present and he's wearing glasses. And this says, nope, 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 nope. My grandfather, I brought through evidence. We know it's a grandfather, but nope, I'm sorry, he doesn't wear glasses. But I know that the glasses are there for a reason. And so I will say, okay, I hear what you're saying. I understand that your grandfather did not wear glasses, but I'm clearly seeing he's wearing glasses, and I know that there is a reason for it. And so I will use another psychic ability. So I will ask to see or feel, or I will ask, so why are you showing me glasses? Can you give me a reason why? And I'm talking completely in my thoughts, and then it will come to me through another psychic ability. Maybe I'll see it, maybe I'll hear it, maybe I'll sense it, and I say, "Did he have vision issues?" And they'll say, "Oh, yes, he did." I go, "That's why he's showing me glasses, because that was his popcorn trail to bring me there." The communication between the spirit and I couldn't get there about the vision issues. So instead, he showed me glasses because he knows how my mediumship works and that I will follow that. And so he, and then that will make total sense. And that's just one example that's happened during some of my readings, that kind of event. Personally, just that clear knowing, again, it doesn't match tightly with the human sense, but it's just a clear knowing, and it doesn't need validation. Truly, it is a quintessential validation. But being the validator that I am, sometimes I need more. If I'm watching TV and the TV scrambles in a long or unusual way, or sometimes with the timing of something, I always say when timing happens at a sign, that's when your spiritual flag should go up. So I will just, yep, I'd say spirit's here. Spirit's trying to make a connection or saying hello or whatever spirit is doing here. Sometimes I will validate further because I'm in the middle of maybe trying to understand why spirit is here because there's something that happened prior or I've asked for signs or whatever that is. But truly, no validation is needed. That scrambling on that TV, the way it happened, is just knowing that spirit is here. So that is the easy and the most difficult of all psychic abilities is claircognizance because of that subtlety. But I will say, when you know, you know. And I will say, stand on your spiritual grounding on that. But if you have to validate, move into validation as well. There's nothing. It all beautifully is I call it a spiritual dance of sorts. That it just all works together in the lighted sense. And keep that. If it's light, it's right. So my share is on my spirit guide veterinarian, and I know some of you might be giggling, and that's perfectly fine. I always speak from my spiritual perspective, so and I feel very, very strong in my spiritual perspective. So I have my sweet little dog Lucy, and at times she isn't feeling well. She's getting up there in age, just as we are, and sometimes needs to go see the doctor. Or I have that question, and that is where this share comes in. So if she is under the weather, dogs can't talk. So if I will send if I feel like should I take her to the doctors, and we all know that is quite expensive and finding the time and all those pieces. So if I don't have to, I don't need to. So I talked to my veterinarian spirit guide. His name is Dr. Jake. I've named him, or he's named me. I don't remember exactly how that originally occurred, but again, you can name your spirit guides. They will take on the name that you choose, or change it if you didn't like the name. So I send my intent to Dr. Jake. Okay, Lucy has these symptoms. Please, I'm going to just let you sit with it, because sometimes I don't. I feel like the spirit guides sometimes need to kind of see how things are going to go. And so I'll send my intent up there. Certainly, if it's an emergency, there would be no reason to talk to Dr. Jake. I would just immediately take her in. But if there's something that I'm like, is this going to progress? Is this going to get better on its own? Is this something I should be worried about? Or I will move right into Dr. Jake and ask him for his help. Because again, in light and love and all my best good, he will give me those answers. So I'll send that intent up. The next day or later, I might just open my psychic channels, or I make a date with spirit. Okay, I'm coming tonight. Dr. Jake, at this time, please move messages of my next moves. And as soon as I open my channels, I just know the answer. Yes, it's time, or no, it's not time. Or not right now. So maybe I'll need to check in at another time. And so I will just know the answer. And it happens quite often. And I know it's hard to put this experience into human words, but that's what this physical ability kind of supports. It doesn't have a lot of support. It doesn't have a lot of proof, even in the spiritual realm. It really is just that clear knowing. And I always say, trust yourself. We have to trust. Trust is the hardest part when it comes to the spiritual realm, but it is the most essential in order to move to what we need to move to. So you have to find that place of trusting light. But always know that light will never bring you to the wrong place. Light will always carry you to where you need to go. But where you need to go isn't always, I say, carved in gold. It is just where we're supposed to go for whatever reasons. And that's what you need to, whenever you're using any of your psychic abilities, you have to truly trust the light and surrender to the light, in order to get all the gifts that the light offers to us. So, in my spiritual perspective, clear knowing or clear cognizance is a sleeper psychic sense. It is generally not viewed as a superpower, it is when making spiritual connections, because it's generally viewed as a coincidence or something weird when it occurs, and then ego claims it. We see a lucky guess and easily talk ourselves out of it, since we have no natural event to support knowing it would occur. Remember, as you move to understand and claim the superpower of clear knowing, you do not have to persuade anyone. This is your journey. When you feel light about a sign or a message, trust it. And once there, do not use the word but, or look back, figuratively, because ego is going to be doing push-ups in the parking lot trying to talk you out of those truths. When validating using any psychic ability, ask yourself, does that feel light? However light resonates with you, feel it. If it does feel light, then you are light. You are right. You're right where you should be. Have a beautiful day filled with light and love. Thank you so much for allowing me to accompany you on your journey. We have so much to learn together. If you have a topic you feel would be beneficial to spiritual growth, feel free to DM me at Cheryl Bradley Medium, or email me at hello@cherylbradley.com. Listening to today's episode, I hope you gained an abundance of light. to carry you until the next time we are together. Keep the title of this podcast circling with you today and every day. If it's light, it's right. Have a beautiful day.